especially this professional gal over here, Tootsie, that has arranged everything to be presented here today. But I would like to say one thing. I didn't imagine this many people would show up. I haven't seen this many people come to see me since July 21st, 1957, when we cut the price of gas 3 cents a gallon, and they called it a price war. but those days are gone, and I'd like to start out, and I would also like to say input would be appreciated, because I scanned my memory on everything that I tried to bring up, and all the pictures we've got over there. There's some more pictures I've got. The people that have given me calls and memories that I didn't even know, and it was very enjoyable. But okay, we use this way. Okay. Okay, we want to start going back to 1895. Just so you're aware, I was not alive at that particular time. The top.
Point that at the laptop.
Oh, handed at the laptop.
How old are you?
Oh, if my granddaughter was here, we'd be able to figure it out. Yep. Can I point it right here? Technical problem already. We just started.
I'm sorry.
There we go.
Okay. The Wadhams Oil and Grease Company was established in 1895 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And how we happened to be associated with that was the fact that they were the ones that built the gas stations in Wisconsin. And going back then, they built the gas stations, and I'm going to call them the pagodas. And they were the gas stations that were the pagoda, the Japanese type of style. And there's 2 of them left in the state of Wisconsin. But one of them is in West Dallas, Wisconsin, and the other one is in Cedarburg. And both of them are on the National Historic Registry of Deeds. And Wadhams Oil Company had a refinery in Indiana. And Wadhams Oil Company was noted for its gasoline, not for its gasoline, but for its oil. And finally what happened, they merged with the Standard Oil refinery in Indiana. And then going back, they were later bought out by Saucony, which was an oil company back then. And then eventually they were bought out by Vacuum Oil Company. In turn, after that, they merged with Standard Oil of New York, and it was called Saucony, S-O-C-O-N-Y. And Saucony stood for Standard Oil Company of New York. And that's when it went back about 1917 to 1930 is when all this stuff happened. Going on, this is the logo that we had right then. It was, if you notice, Saucony vacuum were down on the bottom, and this was in 1932. My dad started the business October 1st of 1929. And needless to say, that was a historic month because of the fact on October 1st, 1929, the stock market crashed. And that affected a lot of people. And my dad told me that he would work from 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, and he would average 12.5 cents an hour. And he managed to pay all the bills. Well, you tell a young kid today that they're going to start out at 12.5 cents an hour and take responsibility and pay the bills, they laugh at you. So, okay, going back to the Depression years, the original business, if you got a slide of that one, well, that's the pagoda. This is the pagoda. This is down in West Dallas. And that's one of them that are still on the Historic Registry of Deeds. And this is another one. Unfortunately, it's with Texaco because they were bought out and they flew the Texaco label on that. But this was down in Cedarburg also. Okay, talking about the stock market crash. And originally the business was started by my dad October 1st, 1929. And then what happened, the stock market crashed. And of course in gas stations back then, and still today, maybe not as much, but we always had kids coming around, the young guys, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19 years of age. And for entertainment, they would stop over. Now the highlight of the entertainment was there was a dice box. The dice box, they would shake dice. And the first 2 or 3 or 4 that got out, the 5th one that lost had to go outside and get a bucket of coal because the business was heated by coal. And they had to fill it in, and that was the entertainment and the illumination of the day. So that was that part about that. Another interesting part, going back, this is before my time, but the first telephone on the south side. And the telephone was a 4-digit number. And presented here by a person that I respect very highly, and it was a 4-digit number, and I think that, boy, I tell you what, looking through my glasses, 7352, or it could be close to that, but it was a 4-digit number. But the first telephone on the south side, it was like a public telephone. And going back during the Depression, nobody had any money. But we'd get a call from somebody up at Antigo, Wisconsin, and they would say, we got to get a hold of Ethel, who lives on 12th Street. And then it was my dad's responsibility to get one of the young guys. Art Jewell comes in mind. You probably knew Art Jewell. But anyways, he would run over and tell Ethel to come over to use the telephone. Of course, there was a charge involved in this telephone. It was 5 cents. And they would pay the 5 cents. If you didn't have the 5 cents, it was no problem. Then you were on the credit list. And the credit list, the way I understand it, hardly ever lost a nickel towards the telephone. There was always enough money to pay the bill. So then they would call and get the situation straightened out as far as that goes. Then we're going to go into the war years. Of course, on December 7th, 1941, I need not tell you what happened on Pearl Harbor Day. But what happened was the fact they put gas on rationing. And there were gas stamps. Not only were there gas stamps, but there were meat stamps. There were sugar stamps and maybe a few other stamps. But to tell you, we had a bank on the south side. Now remember, this is before my time. But what happened was the fact, my dad, Schmieder's grocery store, Grimmer and Boney's grocery store, Baum's meat market, they all were in the stamp business. So if Ethel, who got the phone call, I had to go up to Antigo to see her brother's funeral, she would come over, I don't have any stamps to get gas, so I can drive up there. Well, my dad had a collection of these gas stamps. So she could get the gas stamps to get up there and get back. But then there were a couple of young gals or elderly people in the community, they would bring the gas stamps in. And so they use the bartering system. And then somebody didn't have enough stamps for meat. Baum's had enough stamps, and they traded back and forth, and that's why I call it the Bank of the South Side. But I don't think it's recorded, and we were not a member of the FDIC. So, okay, this is my dad. His early 30s, in the corner of 12th and Madison. And you see that coin changer there? That was the cash register. And it just so happens I have a copy of the cash register. And we would carry these out. There were no cash registers, but to make change, we always had what we call the roll. A couple singles, couple fives, maybe a 10, because nobody had really too much money. Very seldom you ever had to go into a 5 or 10. So that was very interesting. Next slide. Okay, here's the unique. This is a postman in the city of Two Rivers in 1941. His name is Henry Wilker. He lived out on County Trunk Highway D, about a half a mile west of the city of Two Rivers. And that was taken back there, and it was just in our collection. And then, of course, you can see, some of you know, is that a 57 Chevy or a 58? I guess I'm
37.
37.
Yeah, 37. Now notice the headlights and how they are. So, okay, here's also a picture. This goes back into 1936. This was the first building that we had. And notice the globes on the top of the pumps. I wish I had $10 for every one I threw on the trailer in the dumpster. We took them out to the garbage on a 14th Street playground and just got rid of them. Now they're bringing 1,000, 1,500 sometime too. Also the gas pumps that were on that picture. Those gas pumps now are bringing 1,000, 2,000 and up depending upon what type they are.
Yeah.
It's simply amazing. I wish I had a few of the gas pumps, but where are you going to store them? That was the thing. So this is a picture of my dad, and notice you can see Wadham's Oil Company with the temper bond motor oil. And that was the oil, and Mobil is still respected on their oil products, and especially with their Mobil 1 synthetic oil. And also the Two Rivers Beverage Company. That was located on Adams Street in the Two Rivers Beverage Company, and they used to deliver soda to the business. Of course, nobody could afford to buy soda because they were charging 5 cents a bottle. So those days, you couldn't afford that. But they also used to bring ice to keep their soda cold in case there was a sale. They must have had access to the ice machine, which I guess was located down on the end of 25th Street on West River, which is now Stop and Dock. I guess that used to be the ice place down here. Here's another picture while it was being built back in 28 with the gas pumps and the way they were registered. And there again is another picture. This was illuminated at night, but we were only open like till about 7 or 8 o'clock back then. Now I'm saying we, it was not me, but it was the business. So you got to understand that. So here's another picture of the same corner. Okay, this is a unique picture. We had the account for the first city cab in the city of Two Rivers. Now, since I had this picture, a person has gotten a hold of me and said that his grandfather used to drive the taxis in the city of Two Rivers. And this has got, the location would be Charlie Fensel's gas station across from Subway now, because they used to be the taxi cab station. Now, who is driving that? I don't know, but we had the account back then, and that's how we happened to get the picture. This goes back into about 1958, and it got to the point where volume was going up, and we outgrew the place. Now, if you notice this location here, business is different than the other one because this was built in 1941 when the other one was ripped down. 58 Pontiac, and in back I think it's a Oldsmobile, and that looks like a Ford pickup truck.
54.
54, there you go. Don't you wish you had it now?
Not a Ford.
No. Those were the days.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Okay, here's a picture. My dad is on the right. They stuffed me in the middle. You probably don't recognize me because I was a little thinner back there and I had hair back then. The gentleman on the left with the bank was Virgil Depre. Virgil Depre was a Korean War veteran, and he came back to Two Rivers and could not find a job. And it just so happened my dad was looking for an employee. And Virgil came in to get gas and got talking. He said, well, if you're looking for something, he says, I would hire you. So back then it was pumping gas, checking oil, maybe changing oil, and checking the radiator and a few things like that. There wasn't too much mechanical repair back then because it was all light service. Oh my gosh. This is the first car I ever bought back in 1959. And I sold a car about 12 years ago, and I sold it to an individual in Two Rivers, and now the car is in California. It was, all the time I had it, it was an original car, and when we sold it, the guy that bought it from me was very happy to get it because he told me his wife wanted to buy it. And I said, "Wife, your wife died about a month ago. Why would you want to buy that?" He says, "She liked the car," and he said, "I'm buying it in her memory." So it was kind of a nice situation. At least the car stayed locally for a while. Okay, now in the market of a vintage gas pump, now I told you you could probably buy one for $1,000, $1,500, maybe $2,000, $3,000. Well, I was flabbergasted when this came up. This is listed on eBay, located in Texas. It paid free freight. What do you think it cost?
$1,800.
Oh my God.
Well, I guess we're not going to hold any surprises. There you go, almost $7,000. I wish I had kept a few of those little gas masks. But then again, where would you store them? This is the one that was built in 1941. You can see right here, this was the fill pipe, one of them. They were underground tanks, and it was an inside bay, and everything was just great back then because originally the bay was outside. So having an inside bay was a great relief to you didn't have to worry about the weather. Now, if you notice the house on the right and the house on the left, I'll bring some information about those as we go on. Some of these pictures are also on the side here, and a lot of them that aren't in this presentation. Okay, these are some employees. I don't know who these employees are. And it was, I think, during the war, and the war years are a different aspect of the life and the business as far as that goes. During the war, they had gas rationing. You couldn't buy a tire because all the rubber went to the federal government to support the military. So what happened is you couldn't buy a tire, so we went in the vulcanizing tire business. Now what the vulcanizing tire business was, when the car came in and we repair a tire, we'd have to put a patch on the inside of it. And we vulcanized that in, we had vulcanized equipment, and that's how we got it actually really good start into the tire business because of the vulcanizing system.